The Good Nurse was directed by Tobias Lindholm, written by Krysty Wilson-Cairns. It stars Jessica Chastain, Eddie Redmayne, and Kim Dickens. Nurse Amy Loughren is shocked when Charlie Cullen, one of her colleagues, is found responsible for the murders of dozens of patients over a period of 16 years across 2 states and 9 hospitals, and without being charged. This is based on the true crime book the same name by Charles Graeber. And so, going into this, that had my curiosity. And plus, I am into these type of drama thrillers. And plus, based on the idea, it looked like it would be something very good. And while I will say this is not one of the best movies ever made, it's definitely one of Netflix's better movies here. Now, for some people, this will not work for most of them, but I personally really thought this was actually a solid enough thriller that has its shortcomings, but is still very good, to say the least. It is, for one, a very well shot and a very well directed film by our director, Tobias Lindholm. He knows how to get the good execution down. He knows what he's trying to do in terms of this story, and this is a story that we've seen this type of story done before, but it's done in a way that's interesting. And also, you have Jessica Chastain, who she is an Oscar winner recently, a phenomenal actress. I love everything she does, even if it's at her worst. 355 and Dark Phoenix was not her strongest hour, but she's an Oscar-winning actress that has incredible range. And once again, she does great in this movie. She's very committed. I definitely really enjoyed her performance as the character of Amy, who wants to get this down. And I definitely relate to. It feels like she's on the verge of a mental breakdown, and her facial expressions are phenomenal. Also, equally as phenomenal as Eddie Redmayne. I thought Eddie Redmayne was also really good in her. He does play a lot of different roles. Again, Jupiter Ascending wasn't his fault, but he is a great actor. Fantastic Beast, The Theory of Everything. I know there are some people who don't like Eddie Redmayne, but these two carried this movie for me. The rest of the cast was also really good in this movie too. I did like some of the rest of the performances in this movie. You have Malik Yoba, you have Nami Asmuga, Kim Dickens, Alex West Leffler, Noah Emmerich. Everyone did a good job in their performances wise. Cinematography wise and technical wise, this is definitely a beautifully shot movie. It does have a palette for this, but it definitely knows exactly the color palette is doing, and it's not a terribly made film. The movie is paced very well, I will say that. For the 2 hours and 1 minute I sat there, it was paced very well. I was on the edge of my seat, interested in what was going to happen next, what was going to go down, and for that, I definitely give this movie a lot of credibility for that. And I will say this, the story was interesting and compelling. You see how this doctor is accused of all these different killings of doctors, and no one's been able to call her. But you also have Jessica Chastain is one to take them down. And also the stuff with her family life. It was very interesting. And yes, there are some artistic liberties taken in how this movie is adapted, but there is maybe a few parts of this story that is a little bit too far-fetched. And also the musical score and the tone of this movie does stick with you. It is very chilling, very cold, definitely has an unsettling nature. And the musical score is definitely creepy as hell. I will give the movie that. It is this pretty intense score, and I definitely loved a lot of what the execution of the story was going for, what the character development was going for, and true crimes like this are very popular. And again, well, like I said, when it comes to the performances, they are very good, and the direction is very good. It's very well executed. It keeps you hanging from beginning to end. There are a few issues here. I will say there are some moments where the film does kind of pause in between characters, and that doesn't really bother me as a lot, because it is usual that a movie like this does do something like that. I will also say there were a few slow-paced moments in this movie that are a little bit far-fetched here, a little slow-paced, and you do feel like the tension is going to let out eventually, but not really. I will also say there is some stilted, iffy dialogue at times, and from some of the supporting characters. This is a cliche that's just a thing that's going to be inevitable with movies. It has been over the last couple of years. Even some of our favorite movies of all time will have some very stilted dialogue. But I will say those are the real criticisms. And I will say I do think the movie is just a little long, and the ending is a little underwhelming. It's still a very decent ending to the movie. It's not the worst ending ever. And for some of the supporting characters, a few actors do get a little sideline that you do want to see more of. But this is Jessica Chastain and Eddie Redmayne's movie, and they were two great, phenomenal Academy Award winning actors who definitely put themselves at the top of their game, and they're very committed and they're very dedicated. But overall, The Good Nurse is a very well directed, well shot drama mystery thriller about a nurse trying to take down another doctor who's killing patients, with very committed performances from Jessica Chastain and Eddie Redmayne, with a compelling story and intriguing thriller aspects to cap it off, even if the movie does have some stilted dialogue and runs a little long. This is not going to be in my best of the year, but it definitely will make the honorable mentions. But this is definitely one of the better streaming services movies I've had the pleasure of watching this year. So I'm going to go ahead and give The Good Nurse an Epitastic. Well, that's going to do it for the video that you just watched. I will have my channel here, so you would like to see anything here, click the channel icon, subscribe for more. I will also leave a video and maybe a playlist here, so in case you want to see what I'm about. As always, stay Epictasticness, join the Epictasticness, and you guys keep it cool.